My name is Alicia Turner, and up until last year, I honestly thought if you worked hard, stayed loyal, and kept your head down, people would eventually notice. Yeah, stupid, I know. But that's how I was raised. Show up, work hard, don't complain. I've been working at Harrison and Cole Logistics, a Chicago-based freight company, for almost 9 years. Not glamorous, not fun, but it paid the bills, and for a long time, I believed it would pay off. Boy, was I wrong. The story I'm about to tell you took 9 years of my life, 2 years of my sanity, and gave me a revenge arc I never saw coming. It started on a Wednesday. Always a damn Wednesday. I was sitting in my tiny cubicle, boxed in like a trapped hamster, typing up a logistics report that our ops manager, Dylan Harper, was supposed to do. For the 4th week in a row. Dylan strolled in at 10:45 a.m., iced coffee in hand, wearing sunglasses inside. Real, I think I'm better than everyone energy. Alicia, he dragged out my name like he was bored of saying it. You got those shipment analyses I asked for? I blinked at him. You mean the ones you were supposed to finish? He grinned. Aw, come on. You're way better at it. Besides, you're basically my unofficial assistant. That word hit me wrong. Dylan, my job title is Operations Specialist, not your assistant. He shrugged like my career was a joke to him. Same difference. I swear, I almost threw his stupid iced coffee across the office. Later that day, I overheard him talking to the 2 HR girls near the break room. He wasn't whispering. Hell, he was practically projecting. Watch this, he said to them. Alicia will do anything if you say please. She's like the office mom. They giggled. I wasn't angry. I was humiliated. You ever hear people laugh at you behind your back but right to your face? That sting. Yeah, I felt that. At 3 p.m., we had a staff meeting. Everyone gathered around that big mahogany table like they were important. CEO Marla Harrison, co-founder of the company, was there too. Let me pause. Marla, she was like the human version of a cold front. Expensive suit, designer heels, nails sharp enough to murder someone. She never smiled. Not unless a major client signed a contract. Anyway, we all sit down, and Marla goes, before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge Dylan for leading the new optimization project. My jaw actually dropped. My project, my spreadsheets, my presentations, my strategy. He stole it. And everyone at that table clapped for him. Clapped for my work. I swear I felt something break inside me. Like a tiny string holding my patience together just snapped. Then Dylan turned and winked at me. Couldn't have done it without my girl Alicia, he said. Everyone laughed like he told a cute joke. But I wasn't laughing. At that moment, I knew 3 things. They didn't respect me. They didn't appreciate me. They thought I would always be there to clean up their mess. They had no idea who they were playing with. After that meeting, after watching my work get stolen, something in me switched off. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. I walked back to my desk, sat down, and stared at my computer screen. I wasn't typing. I wasn't working. I was planning. Because if they wanted to underestimate me, if they wanted to treat me like the help, then they were about to see what happened when the help stopped helping. The next morning, I went into work exactly on time. Not early, not eager, just on time. Dylan noticed right away. Whoa, he said, sipping his iced coffee. Alicia and I here at the crack of dawn? Everything good? Everything's perfect, I said, and smiled. He got nervous. Good. Around 9:30, he dropped a thick stack of papers on my desk. Alicia, can you file these? Organize them too. I'm slammed. I didn't touch the papers. I didn't even look at them. I said, no. He blinked like someone slapped him. No? That's what I said. He leaned closer. Come on, Alicia, don't be like that. Do your job, Dylan. His jaw clenched so hard I thought he might break a tooth. For the first time, he realized something was different. But that was just the beginning. A little before noon, the first fire hit the building. One of our biggest clients, Steel Grove Manufacturing, sent an angry email to Marla. The subject line was, "Unacceptable, termination pending." Everybody froze. People stood up from cubicles like prairie dogs popping out of holes. I skimmed the email. A contract renewal was mishandled, deadlines missed, numbers wrong, documents incomplete, and guess who was supposed to take care of it? Dylan. He tried to pin it on me immediately. Alicia usually handles that stuff, he said. Marla looked straight at me. Alicia, is that true? No, I said calmly. It was assigned to Dylan. I emailed him everything he needed 3 weeks ago. The room went quiet. Marla's eyes went cold. Dylan, in my office, now. He went pale. He looked at me like I'd stabbed him in the back. Funny, because he'd been stabbing me and mine for years. The next shoe dropped around 2:15 p.m. Accounting sent a frantic message about shipment discrepancies. Dozens of invoices were wrong, dates mismatched, codes missing. Another project Dylan dumped on me. Another project I refused to do. Suddenly, he was drowning. And for once, I wasn't throwing him a life jacket. At 3 p.m., HR asked everyone to meet in the conference room again. Something big was happening. As I walked in, I heard Marla mutter under her breath, I swear to God, this place is held together with duct tape. Everyone sat down. Dylan looked like he hadn't blinked in 40 minutes. Marla slapped a stack of papers on the table. These are all the errors from this week alone. This is unacceptable. Something is going very wrong in this department. She turned to me. Alicia, you usually keep things running smoothly. What changed? Now, this was the moment, the crack in the door, the opportunity, and I took it. I said nothing changed with me. I've been doing the jobs of multiple people for years, unpaid, unrecognized, unnoticed. I stopped covering for others. That's all. The room froze. I continued because, hell, I'd earned this moment. I've been doing Dylan's work, the intern's work, part of accounting, sometimes even customer service, and no one said a word. The second I stopped doing everyone else's job, suddenly the whole place falls apart. No one breathed. And while we're being honest, I added, this morning's mistakes, last week's errors, the missed deadlines, I didn't cause any of them. I just stopped hiding them. Marla stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Dylan tried to speak. He opened his mouth, but she snapped, "Don't even try, not right now." He sank lower into his chair. Marla took a breath, then said, "We clearly have a serious structural issue in this department." I didn't say it out loud, but the real problem wasn't the system. It was Dylan. It had always been Dylan. But they weren't done yet. Because right when things were getting tense, the office phone rang. Marla picked it up. "Marla speaking?" She listened silently for a moment. Then her expression changed. Anger? No. Fear. She hung up. That was our second largest client. They're threatening to pull out too. Everyone started talking at once. Panic, chaos, people whispering, "Oh my God," and "We're screwed." I sat perfectly still. For 9 years, this company used me, ignored me, expected me to be the silent backbone. Now they finally realized what happened when the backbone stopped holding up the body. But trust me, their suffering wasn't my revenge. Not even close. This was just the warm-up. The air in that conference room felt thick enough to chew. Everyone looked stressed except me. I sat calm, quiet, collected, the eye of the storm I created simply by doing nothing. Marla rubbed her temples like she was trying not to explode. "We cannot afford to lose another major client," she said. "I need to know exactly what's been going on here." She looked directly at Dylan. "You're the operations manager. Explain." He cleared his throat, voice shaky. Well, I've been delegating tasks." "Delegating or dumping?" Silence. Then I spoke. "If you want the truth, I have the email receipts. I can show you exactly who assigned what and when." She turned toward me so fast I thought her neck might crack. "You have documentation?" "I always keep documentation." That was the moment everything shifted. Everyone in the room, HR, accounting, admin, all turned to stare at me like I'd been hiding a secret superpower. Because I had. See, when you've been burned as many times as I had, you learn to keep receipts like your life depends on it. Dylan's face went white. Why would you save emails?" he stuttered. "Protection," I said, "from people like you." He looked like he might throw up. Marla stood up. "Alicia, my office, now." Walking down that hallway felt like walking into court. Every eye in the office followed me, some scared, some curious, some guilty. When I stepped into her office, Marla closed the door behind me and didn't sit down. She just said, "Talk." I didn't hold back. I told her everything. 9 years of being overworked, 9 years of doing multiple jobs, 9 years of watching managers like Dylan take credit from my work while I picked up the slack. I told her about the late nights, the weekends, the unpaid responsibilities, the stolen project. I told her about the meeting where everyone clapped for him while he winked at me like he was his personal little helper. By the time I finished, Marla looked not angry, devastated, like she was realizing how badly she'd been played by her own leadership team. Finally, she said, "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" I laughed, just one dry, exhausted laugh. "Marla, I'm not stupid. Women like me aren't believed unless the building is literally on fire." She opened her mouth to argue, but stopped because she knew I was right. "Alicia, if everything you said is true, and I can tell it is, then Dylan has been abusing his authority, and HR has failed to catch it." HR knew. They just didn't care. That made her flinch. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and groaned. That's the third client threatening to pull out today. I raised an eyebrow. Imagine that. She glared at me. "Don't start." "I'm not starting anything. The people you trusted started this." She walked to her window, looking down at the city like the answers were hidden in the traffic. What do you want, Alicia? That sentence hit me weird. What do I want? No one had ever asked me that before. Not here. Not in 9 years. I didn't answer right away because I didn't want to give her my demands until she was desperate enough to give them. And trust me, she wasn't desperate enough yet. So I said, I want you to understand the situation before we talk about what I deserve. She sat down slowly, hands clasped. I'm listening. Before I could continue, someone pounded on her office door. Marla groaned. What now? The door opened without permission. It was HR Director Kelly, the same woman who always called me sweetheart, like she was patting a dog. She looked like she'd run 5 blocks. Marla, we have a situation. I'm already dealing with a dozen situations. What is it? Kelly swallowed hard. It's the Department of Transportation. They flagged our last batch of shipping logs. They're threatening an inspection. Marla slammed her hand on the desk. You've got to be kidding me. Kelly shook her head. No, ma'am. And they requested Alicia specifically to clarify the inconsistencies. Marla slowly turned to me. I didn't blink. Kelly turned to me too. Her voice shook. You'll help us, right? I leaned back in my chair. Help who? The company that ignored me? The manager that stole my work? The HR department that looked the other way when I was being overworked? Marla whispered, Alicia, please. That word, please, coming from the CEO? Yeah, that told me everything I needed to know. They weren't scared of losing clients. They were scared of losing me. I stood up from the chair. I'll help, I said. They both exhaled in relief. But I'm done being the person who cleans up everyone else's mess. Marla straightened. What does that mean? It means, I said, picking up my bag, if you want me to save this company, you'd better be ready to pay the price. The entire office was rattled, like a freight train had slammed through the building. People whispered as I walked past them, quiet, frantic whispers, like I had suddenly become some kind of legend or a threat. Honestly, both were true. I headed back to my desk and sat down slowly, letting the weight of everything sink in. The company wasn't just falling apart, it was collapsing in real time. Dylan was pacing in his office, sweating through his $9.99 dress shirt from Ross. He kept peeking out at me like I was a ghost he owed money to. Good, because the real storm hadn't even hit yet. Around 4:20 p.m., Marla called an all-hands meeting. Not the small conference room, the big one. The one with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the lake. When the CEO uses the big room, you know it's serious. I walked in last, not because I was late, because I wanted them to feel my entrance. And oh, they felt it. People snapped their heads around. Small talk stopped mid-sentence. Phones slipped into pockets like kids hiding toys before dinner. Dylan avoided eye contact completely. Marla stood at the front of the room, arms crossed, jaw tight. She waited until the last person sat down. Then she said, "Let's not sugarcoat things. We're in trouble." The room shifted uncomfortably. We have 3 major clients threatening to terminate. We have accounting errors, compliance issues, late invoices, botched renewals, and now a federal inspection request. She let that hang in the air. And after reviewing the last 9 months of department communication, her eyes landed on Dylan. It's clear the mismanagement is coming from inside the building. A few people gasped. Dylan opened his mouth to speak. Marla held up a hand. Not one word. He shut it. I don't think I ever seen his mouth stay closed that long. Then Marla turned towards me. "Alicia, stand up." I hesitated, not out of fear, but because I knew this moment was about to change everything. I stood. Marla continued. "This company has placed far too much responsibility on one person's shoulders, a person we failed to support, failed to compensate properly, and failed to recognize." The room was dead silent. Alicia has been doing the work of at least 3 full-time employees without complaint, without acknowledgement, and without proper pay. Some people looked shocked. Others looked guilty. A few looked like they already knew deep down, but didn't want to admit it. And worst of all, she added, her work has been taken from her, presented as someone else's, and used to further careers that were built on her unpaid labor. Dylan swallowed so hard I could hear it from across the room. "So let's be very clear," Marla said. "Alicia is not the problem. She is the only reason this department has survived as long as it has." She motioned for me to come to the front of the room. I didn't rush. I walked slowly, deliberately, letting every step be a reminder of who really held this place together. When I reached Marla, she turned and faced the room. Moving forward, effective immediately, Alicia Turner will be stepping into a new role. People leaned forward. Alicia will take the title of Director of Workflow and Operational Strategy with full authority over restructuring, staffing, oversight, and process review. Murmurs, shock. Someone actually whispered, "Holy crap." Marla wasn't done. She will receive a 40% raise, a performance bonus, and she will choose her own team. If she wants additional hires, she gets them. HR Director Kelly looked like she'd swallowed a lemon whole. And as for Dylan Harper, Marla turned slowly. Dylan shrank in his chair. "You are being suspended pending a full investigation into misuse of authority, mismanagement of department duties, and violation of ethical conduct." The man actually whispered, "Wait, what?" Like he was confused why years of laziness and fraud finally caught up to him. Marla continued, "Depending on the outcome, termination is likely." He shot up from his seat. "You can't do that. I've been running this department for years." "No," I said, stepping forward. "I did. You just took credit." Every head turned toward me. "And the difference is," I said calmly, "everyone finally knows it." Dylan opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Not a word, not a sound. He sat back down like he'd deflated. Marla looked at me. "Alicia, would you like to say anything?" I didn't plan to speak, but something inside me, years of being spoken over, stepped on, ignored, rose up. I turned to the room. For years, I thought if I worked harder, people would respect me. If I stayed late enough, if I fixed enough mistakes, if I saved enough face for other people, someone would notice. I paused, letting the silence settle. But all it did was teach everyone that I would do their jobs for them. Several people looked down at the table. I'm not angry. I'm done. Done being the quiet one, done being taken advantage of, done doing the work of an entire team without the team. I let that linger. And if this company wants to move forward, we're doing it the right way, with real structure, real accountability, and real respect. Marla nodded. The room stayed quiet, heavy, like everyone was processing a reality they never expected. Finally, she said, "Meeting adjourned." People got up slowly, whispering in clusters. I walked toward the door, but before I stepped out, I turned back. Dylan was still sitting there, staring at the table, defeated. He looked up at me. There was no anger, no arrogance, just fear. He said, "Alicia, I didn't think it mattered." I replied, "That's exactly the problem." Then I left. 2 weeks later, the inspection went flawlessly. Clients returned. Processes tightened. My team, my new team, started thriving. People respected me, not because they were scared of me, but because they finally understood my worth. One evening, I stayed a little later than usual, not because I had to, but because I wanted to finish something while the office was quiet. As I was packing up, Marla walked by. "You know," she said, leaning against my doorway, "I should have seen your value sooner." "Yeah," I said, "you should have." She smiled, just a little. "Glad you didn't walk away." I shut my laptop. I didn't stay for the company. I stayed for the chance to rebuild something better. She nodded and walked off. I grabbed my bag, turned off the light, and stepped into the hallway. For the first time in almost a decade, I wasn't exhausted, I wasn't bitter, I wasn't invisible. I was in control, and damn, that felt good. The next day, I walked in with a fresh coffee, a clean slate, and a new mentality. This time, I wasn't the backbone holding a broken company together. I was the woman rebuilding it, on my terms, and everyone knew it.